I'm Angel Nicole Timo of BAL 1A, and I will be discussing the different theories of language and language acquisition. Discourse theory. Discourse theory refers to the process in which language can learn by communicating with the target language speaker. It follows from a theory of language use in which communication is treated as the matrix of linguistic knowledge that language development should be considered in terms of how the learners discover the meaning potential of language by participating in communication. Because language can be learned by communicating with others, discourse theory fosters interaction among learners. In an educational settings, discourse theory has far-reaching implications. It demonstrates how understanding the context enhances the depth of written, visual, and audible contents. Although this is very effective theory, the main criticism of this theory deserves in the methodological weakness. There's no certain method that we imply to the learners directly. Language cannot be learned where learners don't have the interest to make interaction. It depends on the mood of the learners. Maybe the learners feel shy to communicate with others. In that case, this theory becomes failure. I can relate discourse theory and language learning by the way we communicate with others, through interaction which allows us to understand the discourse. Our daily activities is shaped by the way we communicate with others. Through discourse, we can acquire language and allow us to make sense of the conversation. Monitor model. Monitor model is the process of monitoring the situation to whether he or she learn it or not. These strategies do not push early production in the second language, but rather enable students to provide when they are ready, realizing that improvement comes from providing communicative input rather than forcing and correcting production. Aside from that, this theory has been employed successfully as a tool of interpreting the relationship between acquisition and language learning. Some hypotheses that only apply to language acquisition and not to language learning. Furthermore, there is no clear evidence to prove that the monitor was used. They are unable to distinguish between the language created by the learners and acquired system and the experience of everyone who was internalized part of the grammar they have consciously memorized. Disprove the assumption that language does not lead to acquisition. In terms of language learning, the monitored model is defined as the process of determining whether or not someone is truly learning something or the learner that he or she is studying. Cognitive linguistics. Cognitive linguistics is an interdisciplinary approach to the study of language, mind, and sociocultural experiences that first emerged in 1970s. Cognitive linguistics is characterized by many commitment to the inseparability of meaning and form in the study of language. One of the cognitive strengths is that it has wide range of practical applications. The test might then be used again to help determine whether or not someone has autism or lack of theory of mind, help us better grasp with autism and how to accommodate it in school or work environment. It ignores other factors towards behavior that have been shown to affect behavior. For example, Palmer and Holland's study into moral reasoning and decision-making behaviors in criminal assumed that the difference between why the control group weren't criminals. Therefore, this approach is somewhat reductionist as it explains behavior as simply as the result of five cognitive processes: the thoughts, attention, memory, perception, and language, and disregards other factors. Cognitive linguistics is based on the idea that meaning is embedded, and it aims to explain facts about language in terms of other human mind, body, state, and systems, not only at the lexical level, but also in syntax and morphology. Meaning is frequently motivated by metaphor. Social interaction. Social interaction, it is an explanation of language development that emphasizes the need of social interaction between a developing kid and linguistically capable adults. It is also a broad word intended to incorporate all knowledge of social interaction. As a result, it integrates theories from diverse schools of thoughts to provide a more comprehensive understanding of how social order and human emotions are inextricably related. Because of social interaction, you can easily learn a language. The more you interact with the people, the more language you will learn. According to this theory, the sooner you socialize with others, the sooner you will acquire and master a language. The observed flaws in this theory is that you will not learn a language if you do not connect and socialize with others. Because according to this theory, social interaction is required for language development. So if the learner is shy or does not want to socialize with other speakers, they will not acquire or learn a language. Social interaction can relate to language learning because social interaction help a child to learn language by communicating and interacting to others. One example is when you are in school, you are interacting to other teachers and schoolmates. Variable competence model. A variable competence model proposes that the ability to use language varies systematically within functional domains and linguistic contexts, and that such variable is inherent in interlanguage as well. According to Rob Ellis, variable competence model is also focused on interaction. Language and vocabulary are learned implicitly through exposure. Depending on how automatic and analyzed the rules are, they are stored in a single distribution of that information with varying interlanguage rules. The primary and secondary discourse, as well as cognitive process, are all part of learners' language use capacity. In two directions, the model has to be improved. It must first conduct a more thorough examination of the primary and secondary process that are responsible for use and acquisition. Second, the role of input must be incorporated into overall framework in order to consider how input is negotiated. Learners do not produce speech in isolation, at least not in face-to-face interaction. The relation of variable competence to learning language is that the ability to use language changes systematically across functional domains and linguistic situations, and that such variability exists in interlanguage as well. It allows linguists and scholars to think more deeply about second language learning.